Hey everybody, it's Joric. Welcome back. I hope you're doing great wherever you are in the world. Today I wanted to just hit on a topic here. When people have questions about immigration, the vast majority of you watching this channel are probably D7 people if you're going to move to Portugal. Some of you may just watch for some of my travel videos about Portugal, but if you're going to move there, most likely you're going to be on a D7 versus a work visa or even a digital nomad visa. It'll be the retirement, as we call it, or passive income visa. And something that comes up is property, trying to find property. Why isn't there a lot of new property, or how come it seems like forever to get things built or renovated? And part of that answer, which is also an immigration issue too, is that there's a lot of work to be done and not enough workers. And so I'm going to stay specifically in the construction field, because hotel and tourism every year, Portugal, as it continues to be a super popular place for people to go and visit on holiday or vacation, they need even more people in the hospitality industry. So food, restaurant, hotels, tourist guides, cooks, porters, housekeepers, you name it, things like that. But this is more construction based. So as things continue to grow in price, property prices going up, rents for the most part are still increasing, stabilized in a couple of rural areas, but often they're still going up. Part of the issue is the buildings that take forever to get renovated are a lack of work. And I'm going to give you some examples here. We lived in an area called Lapa, right next to Estrela, and there were a couple of main projects leading into what is called Santos or Santos Sevilla. And that there's a church there, and right next to it, it took 3 years for something to complete. And then next to that, there was a renovation project of a big building, kind of bulldozed, and the only thing that's left is the facade, because by Portuguese law, there's certain things that you have to keep in place. But the building itself was bulldozed, the interior taken out. In 2019, we moved in October of 2019. In November of 2019, so rainy season, that's when it started. And you can still see the sign up front, so it almost acts like a permit where it says, here's when construction starts, here's where it stops, who's responsible, information of that nature. So November 2019, we moved August 31st of 2024. And almost every day I would walk by that project going to the gym, or going through Santos to get groceries, or to go meet friends in other areas of Lisbon. And that project was, to me, one of maybe a dozen or more just in the few blocks of where we lived that stopped and started and stopped and started and stopped and started. And the number one reason was the inability to get labor. And there were buildings right next to us on either side of where we were at and where we lived, that the building themselves were being completely renovated. And so 12 apartments in a building to the left of us, 12 apartments to the right of us. So there was a lot of construction going on. And what was interesting is when it was a small project, they would be able to hire Portuguese workers and skilled trades people to do the work. But when I got to know some of the contractors, and I would see them having coffee, and I would just ask questions like, how long is it going to take? Or are we going to hear, noise for the next 6 months? When are things going to be completed? And, sometimes you would say, well, as long as we have the Portuguese working, we'll be able to get this done very quickly because we're going to have consistent staff. If they have other jobs they need to go to, and then we need to hire people from other countries, then they're usually here on a temporary basis, and we might get them for 2 or 3 weeks or 6 weeks, and then they're gone. And so they tried to rely on Portuguese workers when they could. But what the contractors had said is that, well, here's the problem, is that a Portuguese person in the construction field can go work in France and make 3 to 4 times the wage, whether it be roofing or plumbing, electrical work, putting construction like the foundation from a brand new building up to renovating an older building. They can make more money there or in Luxembourg. He said there's thousands of overqualified Portuguese construction workers that are there just because of what they can get paid for what they do. So they don't necessarily want to be working in Portugal because they can't make as much as going to other countries. But contractors on the building to our right, yes, building to our right, it took them 2.5 years to get something done, as opposed to 6 months on the building on our left. I mean, what's the difference? And they just said, well, we're relying on labor from other countries. And they said specifically Angola, Guinea-Bissau, I think they had some workers from Senegal. And he said, we get them for 5 or 6 weeks and then they'd be gone. Or we would get them for a week and then they would just disappear. They wouldn't come back to work. They'd be done on a Saturday. They'd have Sunday off. They'd come back Monday and they would go, there's no workers here. What happened? And they just wouldn't show up. Or they'd show up on Monday. They wouldn't show up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They'd show up on Friday. And then they'd show up the following Tuesday and then the following Wednesday. So you know where I'm going with this. So this also leads into the immigration thing, because as much as there are people that get really frustrated with the immigration process in Portugal, there needs to be a way to make sure that people that are working or that will finish all of these projects so that there will be more housing available or more businesses created because there's more of the commercial building being done. Portugal needs to find a way to be able to get those people assimilated and get them in. But also there's the opposite on the back end of trying to keep track of these people and go, okay, well, we brought them in on a temporary basis, or they're here working, but then they just disappear. Where did they go? Did they go back home? Did they go to another country? So that's what's interesting to me. It's sort of fascinating that once the workers come in, not in all cases, but in this particular segment of the workforce, the people that are not Portuguese often ghost their employer. They're there for a short period of time. The one contractor said that he's used foreign workers for over 20 years, and he just said they're just very unreliable. And he said didn't matter what the country, very difficult to make sure that if they were going to work there for a certain amount of time, that they would work there for that whole certain amount of time. So it helps explain if you're walking around Lisbon or Porto or other places and you're going, why does it just take so long to get things fixed and figured out? Sometimes the staff just isn't as reliable. The workers aren't as reliable because they work for a period of time and then they're gone, and the owner or the contractor doesn't know where they went to. It helps explain some of the issues going on overall in the housing market. It's just one piece of that big pie, but if you have a project that started and it was supposed to be done in 6 months to a year, and it takes 2 or 3 years, you extrapolate that by thousands of projects, then it just kind of pushes the timeline of getting more property open for more people to either buy or rent, just keeps pushing that forward. So where that bubble may eventually burst when there's much more housing available, that's why I say it may never happen, because it just Portugal contractors and construction companies can't seem to rely on workers as much as they maybe used to 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I wanted to give this video out because it ties a little bit into immigration, but it also ties into why prices keep going up on property. So it hits on a couple of things I've been making a lot of videos about lately. So as always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and enjoy your travels.